In at 10, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Amidst Earth's final stand against Thanos, tragedy struck the Punisher when debris from a building hurled by the Hulk's clash claimed his life. His soul was sent to Hell, consumed by a burning desire to punish the Mad Titan for decimating the planet. Seizing an unholy opportunity though, the Punisher struck a demon pact with Mephisto, transforming into the latest Ghost Rider. Yet upon his return to Earth, desolation greeted him. Thanos had vanished, leaving nothing but lifeless ruins in his wake. The Ghost Rider endured countless years wandering the barren land, tormented by solitude with anyone to deliver justice upon or to cherish, and even as Mephisto turned deaf to his calls, the Rider's sanity slipped through his grasp. Yeah, he went insane. The Punisher turned into Ghost Rider and then went crazy. But fate intervened when a wounded Galactus arrived on Earth. Unaware of its lifeless state and seeking aid against Thanos, the Ghost Rider offered the dead world to the Great Devourer in return for being able to punish the Mad Titan as his herald, an offer that Galactus accepted. The crazy Punisher Ghost Rider gains cosmic powers. Then they go on an interstellar journey just trying to kill Thanos. Just because he obliterated all life. Yeah, centuries passed, and their saga culminated when they finally confronted Thanos, resulting in Galactus's beheading. In at 9, Speed Demon, one of my favorite things to talk about. Speed Demon, first introduced in Speed Demon #1, is, aside from what you might have called your ex to your girlfriends, is a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. And yes, there are actually multiple Speed Demons. The demon component of Etrigan was also formerly Jay Garrick before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his mission to collect souls of the most pure and the most corrupt, which just seems weird to me. Like, why would you want the most pure and the most corrupt? But whatever, okay. Blaze Allen initially refused, so in an attempt to persuade him, at his wedding night, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul. Yep, that's right. You thought that Crisis on Earth X and invading Barry Allen's wedding was crazy? Well, how about this? Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back, or at least to ensure her safety, and of course he doesn't get it back after he accepts the deal, but yeah. Speed Demon only speaks in rhymes, which I tried to do, and then they told me to stop doing it here, but he's also a speedster with a flaming skull head that can breathe hellfire, which is awesome. Wally West, which is an amalgam of Danny Ketch and Wally West, which I don't know why they're not called Wally Ketch or Danny West, but whatever, was the next Speed Demon who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back, but obviously that didn't work, because it's a demon. In at 8, Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider comes from Earth 11638, and in this reality, Peter Parker's Uncle Ben never died, and he actually helped Peter to train as a hero with his new spider powers, becoming the Amazing Spider, a famous and powerful superhero who also became a rich and successful scientist, having his own company called Parker Technologies. With his resources and motivation from Uncle Ben, the Amazing Spider used transportation technology to bring Spider-Men from other universes and absorb their powers to increase his. After bringing the Spider-Man of Earth 616 and making him believe he arrived to this universe by accident, the Amazing Spider was weakened by the feedback of the dimensional portal. Eventually, the Amazing Spider was convinced that what he was doing was not actually heroic and allowed himself to die. But after dying, the Sorcerer Supreme Dr. Banner infused Peter's spirit that was trapped in hell with the powers of the damned, causing him to become a form of Ghost Rider, calling himself the Ghost Spider. And honestly, this is one of the baddest Peter Parker Spider-Man suits of all time. It's so freaking sick. Although the feet weird me out. You didn't need to have the indents of toes. And at 7, Alejandra Jones. Alejandra Jones, born to an American human trafficker, and an unknown American woman, endured a harrowing upbringing as she and her siblings were sold and trained in Nicaragua's temple to become the next Ghost Rider. Yeah, he was training a whole bunch of dudes to become the next Ghost Rider. And with the guidance of Adam, Alejandra's path crossed with Johnny Blaze, the current Ghost Rider, who was convinced by Adam to relinquish the curse. A resurrection of the Seeker led to Alejandra's selection as the next Ghost Rider, and she was dispatched to Dayton, Ohio to confront confront Scotty, the daughter of the Red Skull. Despite putting up a valiant fight, Alejandra was eventually defeated. Meanwhile, Johnny Blaze learned of Adam's sinister ambition to purge humanity of sin, which explains why he was training up the next Ghost Riders, just transforming humanity into emotionless beings, which honestly I feel like could be a good idea at this rate. But feeling responsible for giving up the curse, Blaze agreed to assist in separating Ghost Rider from Adam, embarking on a separate mission to thwart that plan. But yeah, it's a dope story. And at 6, Hellhawk. This one's pretty freaking dope. In the 11th century, Hellhawk, a Sioux chief with Native American heritage, wielded the powers of the Ghost Rider and joined Thor's Avengers of 1000 AD. Moving forward to the 17th century, Hellhawk found himself in a rivalry with Noble Kane. Unfortunately though, his life was cut short when Narcosis took his life as a message to Mephisto, which was orchestrated by Belcasso to keep the spirits of vengeance away from Limbo. But with the powers of the Ghost Rider, he took revenge on then who would attack and slaughter Native American tribes, which is probably the most understandable form of vengeance that has ever been demonstrated by a Ghost Rider. Okay, this is dope. I want like a Pocahontas crossover. Like do like a Disney owns Marvel. Make Pocahontas a Ghost Rider, please. Halfway through, into number 5, Ghost Hammer. A result of what is basically the civil war of Warp World, which was created when Gamora used the Infinity Gauntlet to fold the world in half. This character is a warp between Ghost Panther and Iron Hammer, which in turn are respectively mashups of Black Panther and Ghost Rider, and of Iron Man and Thor. Yeah, it's a little confusing. After stopping the Supreme Seven from destroying their world, the Defenders ended up experiencing a cataclysmic event where their world ended up folding in upon itself and once again merged Ghost Panther and Iron Hammer into the new being of Ghost Hammer. And they have all the powers of Ghost Panther from 616 and those of Iron Hammer from 616. They're basically the combination of 4 total badasses. So yeah, T'Challa Odinson is gonna make it onto this list. That's freaking dope. His name is T'Challa Odinson. In at 4, All Rider. Robbie and a Deathlock sent by Avenger Prime learned of the threat of the multiversal Masters of Evil and the Council of Red, prompting them to embark on a journey across the multiverse in search of potential allies. Among the recruits were Ant-Man, Star Panther, alternate versions of Captain America, the God of Fists, the Carol Corps, and various Iron Man counterparts, and during their mission, Robbie Reyes discovered that he was the All Rider, possessing the ability to ride anything. Insert the giggles of 14-year-olds and those like me who can't really mature because being an adult is boring. However, during an assault on Avengers Prime base, the God Quarry, Robbie's powers inexplicably failed. He later regained them during the battle, using them to seal a breach in the God Quarry, thus saving the entire multiverse from the destructive power of the First Firmament. Sacrificing himself, Robbie entered the First Firmament and sealed it from within, leaving him trapped there while rebuilding his car and awaiting for the opportunity to return home. But I just like the fact that this dude can hop on anything and it immediately becomes like his Ghost Rider thing. I just imagine him like pushing a child off of a scooter and hopping on it, and then just like the wheels start flaming and he just goes. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Goose Rider. Yep, that's not a typo, that's real. In the peculiar world of Earth 8311, Marvel created a universe where its characters were cartoon animals. Yep, that's right, you know who I'm talking about, Spider-Ham. Among these animal superheroes, or anti-heroes, whatever you want to say, resides Goose Rider, a spirited form of Ghost Rider, which is funny because it's a spirit. And anyway, in his fiery form, Goose Rider is a goose, shocking, donning a Daredevil costume outfit, kind of like an Evel Knievel thing, not a Matt Murdock thing. Unlike his counterpart in the Marvel main universe of 616, who's driven by a passion for punishing the unjust, Goose Rider's battles take a light-hearted turn. His main challenges include finding suitable entertainment and enduring the playful taunts of kids who use the fire from his motorcycle to roast marshmallows. This dude is basically if Ghost Rider was a kid's party entertainer, which is just weird. In terms of powers, Goose can call upon the mischievous demons of heck to unleash their unique attacks on foes, such as dropping anvils from above. As with many obscure characters, Goose Rider hasn't really been in the comics since the late 80s, making his final appearance in issue 17 of Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham, but hey, I think that we need to see him come back. Alright, where's across the Ghost Rider verse? Huh? Am I right? Crickets. Penultimately, and at number 2, Red Hulk. In the 6-issue crossover Circle of 4, Flash Thompson's Venom, Ghost Rider Alejandra Jones, Red Hulk Thaddeus Ross, and X-23's Laura Kinney converge in Las Vegas for personal reasons. Sinister casino owner Mr. Delegui is revealed to be Mephisto's demonic son Blackheart, leading to a chaotic situation where Alejandra accidentally opens a portal to hell, unleashing demons and malevolent beings, and Red Hulk and the others have to intervene. But the exposure to hell's indulgences corrupts Alejandra, making her steal the spirit for herself while Flash struggles to control his symbiote. Venom later steals the spirit, seeking that demonic power, but Blackheart intervenes and throws people out of windows and stuff. Alejandra survives. She joins forces with a massive behemoth that was now combining the powers of Red Hulk, Venom, and Ghost Rider all at once. Yeah, Thaddeus Ross got the Venom symbiote and the Ghost Rider spirit. They started racing up the side of a building on Thaddeus' motorcycle with his iconic line of "We are Smash for vengeance." I'm not even kidding, that's what he says. Then Las Vegas returned to normal, and then Red Hulk returned the symbiote and the spirit of vengeance. But yeah, Red Hulk as Venom and Ghost Rider, that's dope. And finally, in at number 1, Agent Coulson. Spoiler alert for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you care, I guess. But in the world of the MCU, the Spirit of Vengeance was trapped in the Dark Dimension within a region known as Hell. But he managed to escape and reach the Earth plane, making a vow that he would never go back to his former prison. The Spirit eventually bonded with Johnny Blaze, turning him into Ghost Rider, but one night in Los Angeles, Robbie Reyes and his brother Gabe were attacked. Their car crashed and Robbie was sent flying through the windshield and hit the ground, causing his death. A voice called out to him from the darkness and asked if it would truly do anything to save his brother and punish the men who attacked him. Robbie said yes, and boom, comes Ghost Rider. The Spirit and Reyes worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to take down the baddie of season 4, which was Ada, once they returned from the Dark Dimension again. But Phil Coulson made a deal with the Spirit, which temporarily granted him his demonic power. Okay, this is so dope. Which he then used to successfully destroy Ada by incinerating her to ashes. The Spirit returned to Reyes afterwards, but come on, Agent Coulson with superpowers? We love Agent Coulson. The reason that they made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was to bring Coulson back, I feel. However, Coulson's possession of the Spirit of Vengeance caused the cancellation of the GH325 effects, which had been keeping him alive since his resurrection, which ended up dooming him, but not before he got the chance to go out and see the world. So he doesn't die in the series, but it just kind of makes him a normal dude again, so he will die eventually.
Number 10, Speed Demon. Coming at us from the Amalgam Universe, a parallel universe that is composed of mashups of some of our favorite Marvel and DC characters that was unfortunately destroyed thanks to the cross-multiveral conflict, comes Blaze Allen, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Once a stunt rider working at a carnival, Blaze Allen becomes the Speed Demon following the death of his wife at the hands of the evil Night Spectre. He was convinced by Merlin to bond with the demon known as Etrigan, and from there the entity known as Speed Demon was born. Granted the abilities of Ghost Rider, including his fiery powers as well as super strength, Speed Demon is not actually all that fast despite what his name would suggest. While the character is a formidable fighter and an all-around powerful being, he falls very short in the speed department, especially compared to any other speedster out there. There have been other characters who have taken up this mantle, including both Jay Garrick and Wallace West. However, all of their abilities seem to be similar to the originals. Check out Blaze Allen for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1996's Speed Demon, number 1. Number 9, Kushala. Hailing from the main continuity Earth of 616 in the mid-1800s, Kushala was an Apache woman possessed by the Spirit of Vengeance known as the Demon Rider. To add a whole other layer of powers and depth to her character, she was also the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth at the time, making her ridiculously strong because not only was she capable of the demonic transformation and pyrokinesis that's normally associated with Ghost Rider, she could also fly and practice various types of magic, including Norse, Chaos, and Earth magic. Instead of the motorcycle or motorized vehicle that the modern Ghost Riders have, she possessed a phantom horse engulfed completely in fire. Before becoming the Spirit of Vengeance, her tribe was attacked by the US Army and her parents were unfortunately killed, so in an act of revenge she prayed for help, but instead of receiving any help from the Creator, she was instead possessed by the Spirit of Vengeance. While searching for a cure to rid her of this demon, Kushala was recruited by Merlin himself with the promise of exercising the Spirit of Vengeance if she helped him with something, which led to her involvement in the War of the Realm. Check her out for yourself in 2016's Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme. Number 8. Nima. This iteration of Ghost Rider, also known as the Wrath of Heavens, the Blood Drinker, or He Who Seeks Vengeance in Our Name, isn't modeled after the normal spirit of vengeance that we're used to. It's modeled after a wrathful deity of the Tibetan Buddhism, and its design and methods very much reflect that. The full abilities of Nima haven't really been revealed, but it can be assumed that he possesses all the powers given to every spirit of vengeance. However, he possesses a penance ability fashioned by his beliefs. Known as the Stare of 1,000 Buddhas, this specific penance stare is highly potent and enables him to punish those who have wronged the innocent by forcing them to feel the pain of their victims. Nima was able to attack and destroy 2 Chinese military posts, but before actually attacking them, he offered them the chance to escape before they would face his wrath. Unfortunately for Nima though, he was found by Daniel Ketch, a former spirit of vengeance, and his powers were absorbed by Zadkiel before Johnny Blaze was able to find and protect him. Check out Nima in 2008's Ghost Rider Volume 6, number 28. Number 7. Shobha Mirza. Needing the power of the Spirit of Vengeance more than anything, she sought out Danny Ketch because she heard that he was the greatest of all time, which was a little bit hard for her to believe at first because of his very drunken state. Little did she know that Daniel had the Ghost Rider entity exorcised from his body completely by his friend Mary LeBau, so he wasn't really going to be any help to her. Not long after Daniel witnessed Shobha's transformation into Ghost Rider with a bit of a fun twist on it, as she rode what looks to be like a fiery elephant instead of a motorcycle, and she had 4 arms which allowed her to wield a spear, a bow, and a sword all at the same time. Shobha was eventually taken prisoner by Verminous Rex and Zadkiel, and although Daniel searched for her night after night, he couldn't find her. Somehow, she's actually the one who found him. Wounded beyond repair, the entity inside her threatened to take control, and Shobha begged Daniel to rescue her. He wasn't sure what to do, but like a parasite, Ketch just leached her powers into himself. Shobha's human half had been saved, and she thanked Daniel even as she passed away in his arms. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with her first appearance in 2008's Ghost Rider Danny Ketch, number 1 all the way to number 4. Number 6. Ghost Rider 1 million BC. You could probably guess it from the name, but this iteration of Ghost Rider was around way before Johnny Blaze or any of the other hosts that we all know very well because they were active during 1 million BC. Very early on, he realized he was much smarter than the rest of his caveman pack, a fact that he ended up keeping to himself because he didn't want them to know that. One day, a Wendigo in disguise took over his tribe and eventually ate everyone except for the boy. Instead, Wendigo gave him the name Ghost and gave him the task of finding him again one day. Ghost set out on his quest but quickly realized he might be a little bit in over his head as the harsh environments were taking a toll on him. However, he was then approached by a snake who tempted him into saying his real name to achieve his goal, and from that point on he was bonded with a spirit of vengeance and rode a mammoth imbued with hellfire. 5 years later, Ghost finally tracked down the Wendigo to exact his revenge and engaged him in an intense fight that ended with the Wendigo pushing Ghost's mammoth off a cliff with him, though the Wendigo claimed that he would survive the fall. The rider was then approached by Odin and Lady Phoenix, who asked him to join the prehistoric Avengers, and together they defeated the Fallen and sealed it in an underground chamber in what would become the modern day country of South Africa. Check out Ghost for yourself, starting with 2017's Marvel Legacy, number 1. Number 5. Noble Kale. The first official Ghost Rider, Noble Kale was alive in the 18th century and grew up with an abusive pastor father that was eventually revealed to be a minion of the Dark Lord Mephisto. After secretly marrying and having a kid with a woman by the name of Magdalena, Pastor Kale's secret was found out by her and he accused her of witchcraft and had her burned at the stake. Just before she died though, she used a curse to summon demons called Furies with the sole purpose of avenging wronged women, and they started killing the townspeople. Fearing for his life, Pastor Kale struck a deal with Mephisto. He would be kept safe and Mephisto got Noble's soul. Mephisto realized that Noble was attached to a piece of the Medallion of Power, and he activated that piece to transform Noble into the original Spirit of Vengeance, and with that power he was able to take down the Furies. Pastor Kale for some reason then made an offering to the Ghost Rider in the form of Noble's son. However, Noble as Ghost Rider didn't want to accept that at all and killed himself instead. Mephisto later appeared to claim Noble's soul, and then his brother Archangel Uriel appeared and said that Noble's soul should be spared. Now, like most sibling arguments, an agreement was impossible, so they compromised and decided that his soul would remain in the void until it was rebonded with certain members of his family. Check the story out for yourself, starting with his first appearance all the way back in 1990's Ghost Rider Volume 3, number 1. Number 4. Barbara Ketch. Finally, a Ghost Rider on our list today not from Earth 616. Hailing from Earth 11,993, Barbara Ketch was the sister of Daniel Ketch, who became the Ghost Rider of their world after her brother was killed. Now, it's not really stated, but it's assumed that she shares the same powers that her brother's 616 counterpart had, but for some reason never used her penance stare because she straight up just preferred killing. Surprisingly, she was able to suppress the Spirit of Vengeance's influence through sheer willpower alone, but she still went on a killing spree anyways, taking out her brother's killer and any other villains that she came across. It took the combined power of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Johnny Blaze to stop her reign of terror, and they did so by separating her body from the demon. As soon as she was back to her normal self, she regretted her actions so much. However, she didn't get the chance to make up for her sins because she died shortly after. Check out her one-off appearance for yourself in 1993's What If Volume 2, number 45. Number 3. Ghost Rider 2099. Kenshiro Zero Cochran, hailing from Earth 928, is the next on our list today, and for good reason. Zero in the 2099 Marvel timeline is a cybernetic take on the Spirit of Vengeance as opposed to the supernatural being we might be used to. Originally he was a hacker for the street gang known as Hotwire Martyrs, and one day they were attacked by the rival gang the Artificial Kids, with a Z, and most of the martyrs were taken out. In a last-ditch effort to escape them, Zero did his best to screw them over by transferring the encrypted file to his girlfriend and then jacking directly into cyberspace in an attempt to burn out his headwear implants. He woke up in a very surreal cyberspace inhabited by incredible machinery known as the Ghostworks, and they enlisted Zero as an agent of change. Before hitting the streets, Zero used the robot's holographic capabilities to wreath his skull-like head in an artificial flame as an homage to his fallen comrades. That also served to make him look very similar to Ghost Riders of the previous century. Since he's not an actual Spirit of Vengeance, he doesn't have the powers you would normally associate with Ghost Riders. However, that doesn't mean he's not a formidable foe. While still driving the classic motorcycle, Zero used holographic camouflage, nanite regenerative abilities, eye-mounted lasers, and more to take down his enemies and get revenge for his fallen comrades. Check out this story for yourself, starting with 1994's Ghost Rider 2099, number 1. Number 2. Caleb. Okay, back to Earth 616 for now, folks. 2 years after the Civil War was over, a former captive named Caleb stumbled upon and took in a wounded soldier named Travis Parham, and nursed him back to health. One day Parham discovered a cave that held a collection of glowing skulls. Upon touching the skulls, Parham saw a vision of a hellish nether realm populated by a creature with a burning skull for a head. Caleb told Parham that the creature he saw came from his ancestors' country and could be called upon when something needed to be made right, an instrument of vengeance, if you will. After Parham left, Caleb and his family were sadly killed by George Reagan, and Parham swore to return years later to get revenge. What he didn't know was someone was already beating him to it. This Ghost Rider killed each of Reagan's men, and finally, Reagan himself, and the killers returned after having made a deal with a demon. In a final showdown between Reagan's band and the Ghost Rider, Parham discovered that the rider was actually his former friend Caleb, powered by the Spirit of Vengeance that Travis had envisioned years ago. This Ghost Rider has all the powers you would normally associate with Ghost Rider, as well as 2 other powers. Possession, which allows him to possess and control corpses, and dimensional travel, which allows him to, travel to other dimensions at ease. Check him out for yourself in 2007's Ghost Rider Trail of Tears, number 1. And number 1, Ghost Panther. This Ghost Rider variant comes to us from the Warp World, and if you don't know what this is, let me give you a little taste. Put most simply, it is a pocket dimension of Earth 616 where history was rewritten and adapted around fused heroes, such as Iron Man and Thor as Iron Hammer, Captain America and Doctor Strange as Soldier Supreme, and of course, Ghost Rider and Black Panther as Ghost Panther. The principal Khanda T'Challa was an arrogant boy who, because of his conflict with his father, was exiled from his home country. He traveled to America where you found Jericho Simpson, a fusion of Brother Voodoo and Crash Simpson, who ended up becoming his new father figure and even gave T'Challa a new name, Johnny Blaze, and he ended up becoming a pretty successful stunt performer. Fast forward 5 years, and during a stunt, he sensed his father T'Chaka dying and got very distracted, which resulted in his own death. He was then revived by Zarathos, half-sister of Bast, and offered him powers in exchange for eating the souls of sinners. At first he was reluctant, but when battling his father's killers, he accepted the offer and became Ghost Panther and battled Eric Killraven, a fusion of Eric Killmonger and Killraven, while riding a burning panther. Check him out for yourself in his first appearance in 2018's Infinity Wars, number 3.
Number 10. Carter Slade. The original Ghost Rider was actually referred to as the Phantom Rider. Carter Slade made his first comic book appearance in Ghost Rider 1 way back in 1967. Born in Ohio in the mid-19th century, Carter had aspirations to become a teacher, so he rode from Ohio to Montana. But during this commute, he was shot by guys dressed up as Native Americans. They were a bunch of white dudes, all of them canceled, immediately canceled. Comics are very dated now, so things like this happen and you're like, okay, let's just see where the story goes. A doctor named Flaming Star took Carter after that point and prayed, he chanted, he did everything he could to save his life. Now the secret ingredient was glowing dust from a shooting star that he had from earlier and a special cape that he prepared. He saw the shooting star and knew that somebody important was going to come along. Okay, fair. Great call, Flaming Star. Also, great name. Carter's a pretty cool Ghost Rider. I mean, he carries with him these spirit guns, which are way more impressive than spirit fingers. Number 9. Johnny Blaze. Next on the list we have Johnny Blaze, another OG Ghost Rider. He made his first debut in Marvel Spotlight issue 5 in 1971, so 4 years after Carter Slade. Johnny began his mortal days as a stunt performer. He was great at handling a motorcycle, and Johnny became bound to Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, after he made a deal with Mephisto to save his father, Crash Simpson's, life. You know, one of those classic scenarios we all get into. So now Johnny Blaze and his Hell Cycle control Hellfire and inflict it upon others that he deems evil with the help of his pendant stare. Nicolas Cage actually killed it as the Ghost Rider. I would not mind an older, crazier Nick Cage in the MCU. They can do it. Number 8. Caleb. Coming from Ghost Rider Trail of Tears issue 1, Caleb and his family were attacked one night and Caleb was killed by George Regan and his gang. Not a pleasant time at all, not a good origin. But then cut to 2 years later down the road, Caleb returns from the dead. Voila, how alarming. Brought back by some form of spirit of vengeance, in Trail of Tears issue 2, Caleb's friend Travis Parham returns and finds Caleb in his new ability to control corpses and travel through dimensions via Hellfire. So things have changed for them. The unlikely duo worked together tracking down other members of Regan's gang for, well, his death. They obviously wanted payback. Caleb is sick. He rides a flaming horse and he's got a chain. He's got bling, bonus points for some devil bling. Number 7, Robbie Reyes. Making his first appearance in all new Ghost Rider issue 1, Robbie was a young LA mechanic living in Hill Rock Heights. His area was full of gangs, so it wasn't exactly easy for him or his brother Gabriel. Now when Robbie heard of a street race offering the winner $50,000, he just had to compete. All that knowledge in cars, he's like, yo, I'm gonna smoke these fools. All that money too would get him and his brother out of there. So while he was winning, he was in first place during this race, he thought that cops were on his tail, so he booked it and eventually he hit a dead end. He got out to explain and whatnot and say, hey, sorry, I'm doing a race trying to win some money, but then he realized they weren't in fact officers, but it was already too late. They opened fire on Robbie and he unfortunately did not survive. When the attackers went to burn the car, because evidence, they didn't realize that the car was possessed by a ghost and that ghost possessed Robbie, making him a new Ghost Rider. And of course he had to dish out some sweet payback. This guy is extremely powerful. I mean, in Avengers Volume 8, Issue 25, Robbie uses his chain manifestation and it's so strong that it ripped a Celestial's arm right out of place. How wild is that? Number 6, Danny Ketch. Danny came around in comics nearly 20 years after Johnny Blaze in Ghost Rider Volume 3, Issue 1. He was the son of Barton Blaze and Naomi Ketch. So when he was a teenager, Danny and his sister Barbara hit up a graveyard to get the real Halloween spooky vibe, let's do it, and also to take photos of Harry Houdini's grave. Those two things we always want to do on Halloween. While they were there, two gangs started to fight, one led by Deathwatch and the other with henchmen of Kingpin. So Barbara shrieked in fear as everything went down, naturally so. Deathwatch heard her, and then she was shot in the chest with an arrow, just horrible stuff. Danny grabbed her and took off. While he was catching his breath, figuring out what to do with his sister, he saw this beautiful motorbike with a glowing gas cap and touched it. He then became a Ghost Rider whose mission was to go after those who shed the blood of the innocent, such as his sister. Number 5, Alejandra Jones. Entering Marvel Comics in Ghost Rider Volume 7, Alejandra was born and trained alongside other orphans in a temple with one specific goal in mind. Why, to simply become one of the next Ghost Riders. Easy peasy. So when Johnny Blaze was convinced to give up the Ghost Rider curse, the Seeker was then resurrected to pick the next Ghost Rider. That's when Alejandra got her big break. She was first sent to Ohio to fight Skadi, the Red Skull's daughter. She lost, but still, she jumped right into the action. It was happening for her. She was a very powerful Ghost Rider nonetheless, but her reign came to an end once Johnny realized that he goofed up and he got his status back. After that point, she was upset. She swore revenge on Johnny, of course, because I'd be upset too if I had that power and then all of a sudden it was taken away from me because some other guy learned a lesson. I'd be like, great, I'm glad you're good. Can I still have that? Number 4, Ghost Rider 2099. Kenshiro Cochran made his first appearance in Ghost Rider 2099, issue 1, back in 1994. He was a hacker who rolled with a gang called the Hotwire Martyrs, residing in Transverse City. This gang was so badass, one day they stole encrypted data after hacking a fiber optic trunk line. Just as intense as a heist, for sure, just as badass. So while this was happening, in comes another gang, even more intimidating, called the Artificial Kids. The kids with a Z, of course, to make it cool. All these cool, nerdy gangs. They actually killed everyone. It was indeed a massacre. It was very intense. No jokes this time. Kenshiro, street name Zero, decided to transfer the encrypted file to his girlfriend during this, and at the same time hack cyberspace to erase all his headwear implants. So Elon Musk's future is basically confirmed. We can look forward to that, nice. Then he wakes up in this new cyberspace called Ghostworks. Zero was sent back to the real world as their agent of change. The machines created a Cybertech 101 warbot, souped it up with nanotech weaponry, camo abilities, self-repair, and of course, a copy of Zero's personality downloaded into his neural net. Very futuristic, different version of Ghost Rider, but still counts. Number 3, Red Hulk Ghost Rider. In the Circle of 4 storyline, Captain America ordered General Ross to go after Venom, and while they went at it, Mephisto's kid, Blackheart, brought part of hell back up to Earth. Lovely. This all takes place in Venom Volume 2, Issue 12. And it's great timing because Red Hulk made an alliance with Venom, X-23, and Ghost Rider. They were all actually killed in this battle. And then in Hell, Mephisto did his thing and then offered the heroes another chance, all that devil stuff. And then all they had to do on their part was take down Blackheart. They got the Spirit of Vengeance and planned to get it to Johnny Blaze so he could become Ghost Rider again. So the Red Hulk at one point had the symbiote and the spirit. How intimidating is that? Number 2, Frank Castle, aka the Rider, coming from the pages of Thanos Volume 2, Issue 13, the Thanos Wins storyline. So the Punisher actually died a pretty random way. A piece of debris from a building fell on him, and then he ended up in hell. Okay, that's one way to go. He was pretty eager for revenge, so he signed up a few contracts with Mephisto, became the last Ghost Rider, and then headed back to the battle. Only the thing was, when he returned, the dust had already settled long before. Thanos was gone, the planet was empty, it was a wasteland. The new Ghost Rider was quite bored for many years. Even Mephisto stopped answering his calls, and then he started losing his mind. Galactus then eventually came along, and Ghost Rider offered the dead planet in exchange for another go at Thanos. So they traveled the cosmos together. How fun, little duo. They found Thanos, Thanos cut Galactus' head off and promised the Ghost Rider more evil than he could punish in 1,000 lifetimes, so Ghost Rider became his servant for a bit in the comics. Shaking hands with all the devils now, eh Frank? Okay. And finally, number 1, Ghost Spider. Coming from Earth 11638, aka the Perfect World, this Peter Parker has a much brighter beginning. Meaning Uncle Ben actually never passed away and gave the whole great responsibility speech. Instead, he just continues to encourage Peter to become a stronger Spider-Man as he gets older. A little pressure, okay, how does that affect this Peter Parker long term though? Where's the butterfly effect difference in this universe with Uncle Ben being alive? Well, Uncle Ben pushes Peter to abduct Spider-Man from other worlds and absorb their life force via this portal that Parker Technologies proudly created. Now eventually our Earth 616 Spider-Man shows up, they fight it out, our Earth 616 Peter Parker comes out on top with the amazing Spider getting his soul sucked into the machine. The perfect Spider-Man spirit was then trapped in the underworld, and then from here it only gets more strange. Literally, Banner at this time was the current Sorcerer Supreme. So he freed that Peter in his astral form, but Peter absorbed all these spirits of the damned while he was down there. So when he came back, he was now Ghost Spider. What a series of horrible but also cool events.
Number 10. Goose Rider. Coming from the same animal-themed alternate universe as Spider-Ham, little is known about this variant of Ghost Rider other than the fact that he is a goose. This may not seem very powerful to some of you, but anyone who has ever dealt with a Canada goose knows how truly dangerous, despicable, and vengeful they can be. The idea of one of these awful creatures also being granted the powers of Ghost Rider is a truly terrifying thing to contemplate, and worth at least the number 10 spot on this list. Number 9. Ghost Rider 2099. The Ghost Rider of the year 2099 is actually the only entry on this list that doesn't get their powers from any demonic source. Zero Cochrane is instead a young computer hacker who was murdered by a rival street gang while out on a hacking mission. In an origin story not dissimilar to Chucky from Child's Play, Zero managed to download his mind into the internet before dying. He was greeted by a group of digital beings who sent him back in a robot body. Realizing that the robo body resembled the original Ghost Rider, Zero decided to take on the identity despite not technically being a Ghost Rider. Zero's power grid in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe actually lists his abilities as being much higher than many of the other Ghost Riders on this list, but as they are not a true Ghost Rider, I have decided to rank him pretty low. Number 8. Ghost Spider. A Peter Parker from an alternate dimension who travels the multiverse with the help of his Uncle Ben, stealing the powers of other Spider-Men in order to better defend his universe. The Amazing Spider, as he called himself, eventually kidnapped the Spider-Man of Earth 616 and brought him to his universe. When Spidey learned of his misguided alternate alternate's plan, he managed to convince him that what he was doing was wrong. Although evil Uncle Ben tried to kill the mainstream Spider-Man, the Spider gave up his life to save the Peter of Earth 616. The Spider was brought back to life by his universe's Doctor Strange and turned into Ghost Spider. We have yet to see this version of Ghost Rider in action, but the mere idea of Spider-Man being granted the demonic powers of the Ghost Rider in addition to his spider powers sounds like a total powerhouse. Unfortunately, the lack of follow-up leaves him in the number 8 slot. Number 7. Danny Ketch. While visiting Houdini's grave, Danny Ketch and his sister were caught in the crossfire of a gang war. While hiding with his injured sister, Danny came across a motorbike with a glowing gas cap. The gas cap turned out to be a mystical amulet, which transformed him into Ghost Rider. In addition to the usual Ghost Rider powers, Danny is also able to transform into a spirit of corruption, giving him an armored appearance and giving him the ability to fight the spirits of vengeance. While he is a beloved incarnation of the character, there are other versions who are more powerful, even if they aren't as interesting of a character, which is why Danny is relatively low on the ranking. Number 6. Caleb. A Civil War era black man, Caleb was able to purchase his and his family's freedom and set up a life for himself on a farm. Aided by his friend Travis, a former Confederate soldier who Caleb had saved the life of, he was able to set up a pretty good life for himself. Unfortunately, a gang led by a man named George Regan killed Caleb and his family in a racist attack. Caleb was brought back as a Ghost Rider and teamed up with Travis to hunt down the men who had destroyed his family and get his revenge. Because of the personal nature of his mission, Caleb has a determination that makes him truly terrifying to behold. He has all of the standard Ghost Rider powers, such as the flaming skull and the penance stare, but he has also displayed powers that none of the other Ghost Riders have shown to be capable of. These include the power to travel between dimensions with the use of his Hellfire, and the ability to possess and control the corpses of his victims. Number 5. Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is a motorcycle stuntman who, in an effort to save his surrogate father, Crash Simpson, from dying of cancer, made a deal with the demon Mephisto. Mephisto promised to cure Crash's cancer in exchange for Johnny's service. Unfortunately, Crash perished in a stunt gone wrong almost immediately afterwards, and Johnny became the Ghost Rider. Although he has tried to rid himself of this curse many times over the years, Johnny has used his powers to punish evildoers and do a lot of good, despite the evil inside wrestling for control. He is the most well-known Ghost Rider, possessing all of the iconic powers that come with the title. As he is the original Ghost Rider, other than Carter Slade, a hero with the same name but different powers, he is the barometer to which we are comparing all the other Ghost Riders and their powers, placing him at the middle of this list. Number 4. Alejandra Jones. When Johnny Blaze gave up the Ghost Rider curse, the spirit of vengeance transferred to Alejandra Jones. Jones had trained her entire life for the opportunity to become a Ghost Rider so that she could punish the sins of humanity. Because of this training, she was able to be an extremely powerful Ghost Rider, although she lost a huge amount of this power when Johnny Blaze reclaimed the Ghost Rider identity. For the time she had it, she was incredibly strong. She had the power within her to be transformed into a kind of bomb who wiped out all of the sins of everyone in Nicaragua. Number 3. Cosmic Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider of an alternate dimension where Thanos killed everyone on Earth. This rider made a deal with Mephisto so that he could seek out and destroy Thanos. Riding his space motorcycle, the rider teamed up with Galactus to hunt down the Mad Titan. When that failed, he went back in time in an attempt to kill Thanos as a baby. He instead raised the baby Thanos, somehow managing to make him even worse. He traveled the cosmos, punishing evildoers, becoming the first Ghost Rider to take their mission to an intergalactic level. But who was this version of Ghost Rider? What makes him so determined, ruthless, and vengeful? The answer? He's Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. You don't get much more dangerous than the powers of the Ghost Rider paired with the abilities and psychosis of the Punisher. Number 2. Robbie Reyes. Robbie Reyes was a street racer charged with taking care of his little brother Gabe, until one night he was killed in a carjacking gone wrong. Thankfully for him, his car was haunted by the ghost of his sadistic uncle Eli, who revived him and transformed him into Ghost Rider. Robbie now spends his time fighting evil, trying to be a good role model for his brother, and battling the spirit of his uncle in order to try and prevent himself from becoming a force for destruction. He has comparable power levels to other Ghost Riders in most areas, but ability to teleport pushes his stats up considerably, moving him near to the top. Number 1. Red Hulk. On a list that's focused purely on power levels, it's hard to imagine a more powerful combination than the one that occurred in the Secret of Four storyline. When Mephisto's son, Blackheart, enacted an evil plan to literally bring hell to Earth, the Alejandra Jones Ghost Rider, X-23, Agent Venom, and the Red Hulk were there to take him on. When this wasn't enough, the team decided that the best course of action would be to bond the Spirit of Vengeance and the Venom symbiote to the Red Hulk. This led to a creature with the combined powers of Ghost Rider, Venom, and Red Hulk, taking on and beating Blackheart in perhaps the most over-the-top action display Marvel has seen in years. Number 10, the X-Men. In this conflict, featured in X-Men Volume 2 Number 9, the Daniel Ketch Ghost Rider was infected by an alien race called the Brood, which took over his mind and turned him against the heroes. This forced the team of mutants to have to take on Ghost Rider and the Brood at the same time. Beast got a few good licks in on Ghost Rider before the floor collapsed and the group was separated. In the tunnels they fell into, Wolverine flung himself at the Rider, dealing serious damage with his adamantium claws faster than Ghost Rider could heal himself. As he was in a somewhat alien form, the Rider used the long tail he had grown to keep Wolverine and Beast at bay, but he soon retreated with Beast and Logan chasing after him. He then began to tangle with the other X-Men, nearly taking out Rogue before getting hit by Cyclops' optic blasts and being thrown off long enough for Gambit to drive him back with his kinetic playing cards and for Belladonna to hold him in place while Psylocke drove a psionic blade through his skull and entered his mind to free Ghost Rider from the alien's control. In this fight, Ghost Rider wasn't in control of his actions and might have fared better if he was in the driver's seat, but the X-Men were able to defeat him with the one power that Ghost Rider couldn't match: the power of friendship. Number 9, Deadpool. On Earth 12,101, the X-Men grew tired of Deadpool's instability and insanity and had him committed to the Ravencroft Asylum, hoping that he could be cured of his madness. Unfortunately, his doctor was really a disguised psycho man who was using his position to try and brainwash insane people into doing his bidding, much like we do here at Top 10 Nerd. He took away the voices in Wade's head, but they were replaced by a new voice that was telling Deadpool to kill everyone. He became aware of his status as a fictional puppet and went on a killing spree of everyone in the Marvel Universe, both hero and villain. In this story, we get detailed accounts of how he defeated the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Avengers, just to name a few, but many other characters were killed off-panel or given just the briefest of looks to let us know their fate. One of these one-panel kills was the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. We aren't told how Deadpool accomplished this kill, but the decapitated head and nearby chain makes me think he may have used the Rider's chain against him. On another alternate Earth, Deadpool was again driven into a homicidal rampage when the Red Skull and the other villains combined forces and brainwashed Deadpool into acting as their agent of evil. In Deadpool's mind, he was going off on fun, whimsical adventures where no one was getting hurt, but in reality, he was brutally taking out the heroes of the Marvel Universe. Once again, he went up against a Ghost Rider, this time Robbie Reyes. And once again, we were given very little explanation as to how Deadpool managed to win against the demonic Rider. But, however it came about, this Ghost Rider was no match for a delusional merc with a mouth. Number 8, the Hulk. When the Hulk believed that the group of super beings who sent him off-planet, the Illuminati, were responsible for the destruction of his home and the death of his wife on the planet Sakaar, he vowed revenge and returned to Earth and took over New York City. Several of the heroes of the Marvel Universe tried to stop him, but none were a match for the Hulk's unstoppable rage. In an effort to stop him, the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider was sent in to try and stop him. It is important to note that in this fight, it was not the demon Zarathos in control, but Johnny Blaze, so he wasn't operating at full power. Hulk started out by throwing Blaze through a building with a thunderclap. He responded by getting on his bike and using his chain to bring down an entire building on the Hulk. This seemed to have no effect, and the Hulk simply picked Blaze up and told him to stay out of his way before tossing him into the air. Johnny managed to snag Hulk with his chain and tried to drag him with his motorbike, but Hulk attached the chain to a subway car, distracting the rider long enough for him to get to the top of a small building and leap down onto Blaze and smash him. Blaze lied in a crater, totally extinguished, but Zarathos took over and Ghost Rider had access to his full powers. Hulk didn't seem concerned by this in the slightest, and after an intense stare down, Ghost Rider simply left on his motorbike, as he only avenges the innocent, and the heroes of the Illuminati were not innocent in the slightest. Number 7, the Avengers. When Robbie Reyes was put under control by the vampire thrall known as the Legion of the Unliving, he was trapped in a never-ending traffic jam in hell while the Ghost Rider tried to kill his fellow teammates on the Avengers. Considering that they also were having to fight the evil Legion, they did very well combining their abilities to defeat the Ghost Rider. The fight began with Thor unleashing a flurry of attacks with his mighty hammer before Ghost Rider responded with a burst of hellfire so strong that both Thor and Captain Marvel were brought to their knees. The stunned teammates were defended by Captain America, who couldn't do much against the Rider, but was able to deflect several of his blows with his shield. This gave Captain Marvel enough time to regroup and punch a hole through his chest before being hit with the penance stare. As Thor struggled against Robbie's car, Carol found that the penance stare did not have a hold on her. She blasted the Rider, who tried to end the Avengers with a penance bomb. The two captains got him in a hold while Thor flew over holding Robbie's car. They were hoping to use the trunk of the car, which leads to Hell, to send the Rider away, but by that point Blade had finished fighting the vampires and simply bit the Ghost Rider, sucking out the corruptive forces and returning him to the side of his teammates. Number 6. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is a difficult hero to defeat, so when looking for heroes who have managed to defeat him, one of the best answers is other Ghost Riders. The series' all-new Ghost Rider features the story of Robbie Reyes, who works in an auto repair shop by day, but takes the cars he's working on to street races at night. One night, while racing, he's confronted by a paramilitary group who shoot him and take duffel bags full of pills from the car's trunk before lighting both him and the car on fire. Robbie is transformed into a Ghost Rider possessed by the evil spirit of the evil Eli Morrow and sets out on a quest for revenge. Eli pushes him towards more and more violent acts, but he's confronted by the other Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze, in issue number 8. The new Ghost Rider charges at the old one, but is immediately grabbed by the throat and slammed into the ground. Eli tries to attack Johnny with a chain, but is trounced once again, does manage to wrap the chain around Johnny's feet. Eli drives away in his car, dragging the other Rider behind him before Johnny confronted him on the roof of the car. Johnny is momentarily confused by the fact that the new Ghost Rider has 2 human souls, and Eli is able to kick him off the roof and get away. The next issue, Johnny catches up to Eli, who seems to be winning this rematch until Johnny uses the penance stare on Eli, putting Robbie back in control and ending the fight. Number 5. The Hulk. Again. In the Immortal Hulk run, the Hulk is once again on the run from government agents. After Alpha Flight's Walter Lankowski, aka Sasquatch, is possessed by the One Below All and kills a hospital full of people, the leader of Alpha Flight, Captain Marvel, is given an ultimatum. Either turn Lankowski in or capture the Hulk. She decides that since Walter wasn't in control of his actions, that she will capture Hulk. Something easier said than done. She assembles her other superhero team, the Avengers, and sets out to confront Banner. The heroes she brings are Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Panther, She-Hulk, and Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. We don't see the beginning of the fight at the beginning of issue number 7, which opens with the Hulk launching Ghost Rider and his car into a house, knocking Danny unconscious, and making him uninvolved with the rest of the fight. As Robbie is possessed by Eli Morrow and not the spirit of vengeance Zarathos, he does have a tendency to be beaten a lot more often than characters like Johnny Blaze, but this defeat is particularly unimpressive. Incidentally, if you want to learn more about the Immortal Hulk, check out my video on it in our Attempting to Explain series. Number 4. Ghost Rider again. We've had a couple examples of Robbie Reyes getting his butt kicked by other heroes, so let's be fair and give him his due. In the Avengers Volume 8, Challenge of the Ghost Riders arc, Robbie is trying to get rid of the demon inside him. He's given the opportunity to win his soul in a race against the current King of Hell, Johnny Blaze, with the winner getting to sit on the throne of Hell. Johnny does everything he can to cheat and prevent Robbie from winning, giving the spirit of Eli Morrow a dead celestial to inhabit and taking away Robbie's Hell Charger, but the Avengers come through for him and bring him a ship that he uses to get to the throne first. He socks Johnny to the ground, telling him that he won because he was a smart enough Ghost Rider to allow himself to be helped by others. Basically pulling a Vin Diesel and going on about how nothing's impossible with family. He gives up the throne to Johnny, having won the race and humiliated him in front of his damned subjects. Number 3. The Avengers. One issue earlier, the Avengers were confronted in their headquarters by the time-traveling Cosmic Ghost Rider, Frank Castle. Cosmic Ghost Rider is an extremely powerful foe, having both the powers of the Rider and possessing the power Cosmic, so meeting him and not immediately dying is a huge accomplishment. Johnny thought that the Avengers were working with Johnny Blaze rather than against him, and attacked the team. He fought She-Hulk and Thor, not really getting that damaged and not even being slowed down when decapitated, instead using his skull as a club to beat She-Hulk. He didn't even admit that anything hurt until She-Hulk and Thor combined their powers to hit him with Gamma Lightning. Captain Marvel then took her shot at Frank, keeping him at bay with photon blasts until Captain America, Black Panther, and the others arrived to help. They were able to deal some damage, but the MVP of the fight was Blade, who used a demonic gun to take out Frank's bike and fire a warning shot into his shoulder, which stopped Frank in his tracks and allowed the Avengers to convince him they weren't in league with Blaze, ending the fight. Hard to say if the Avengers would have won the fight if it had continued, and this one's a bit of a draw, but as Frank essentially surrendered, I'm gonna let the Avengers have this one. Number 2. Daredevil. In the Shadowland miniseries, the hero Daredevil was made the leader of the evil group of assassins known as the Hand. He agreed, hoping to be able to use the group for good, but as his power grew, he became colder, distant, and brutal. As he grew more unhinged, the heroes of New York came to him hoping to bring him back to his senses, but Daredevil had snapped and sent his assassins after them. They later discovered that Matt had in fact been possessed by a demon known as the Beast, who was the Hand's true leader. Since they were dealing with demons, it only made sense to send in Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider to try and deal with the situation. Things did not go to plan, as Daredevil managed to kick the Rider off of his bike almost immediately. Ghost Rider tried to end things by engulfing Daredevil in hellfire, but Daredevil merely laughed, seemingly unaffected. He then grabbed the Rider and took all his power, absorbing his hellfire and tossing him aside. Number 1. The Silver Surfer. This takes place in the future timeline, where the Punisher becomes the Cosmic Ghost Rider and was granted the power Cosmic by Galactus to try and defeat Thanos. When Galactus fell in battle to Thanos, the Rider changed his allegiance and became the black right hand of the Mad Titan. This was witnessed by the Silver Surfer, who knew that he must defeat the pair, but knew he lacked the power to do so. He spent millennia becoming worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and was imbued with dark matter, making him an even more powerful character known as the Fallen One. He was not able to defeat Thanos in the end, but he was able to use Thor's hammer when confronted by the Cosmic Ghost Rider to shatter his skull and kill him with a single blow.
Number 10. Falcon. While there have been many different Ghost Riders across time and the multiverse, sometimes we only have to look as far as our own 616 backyard to find some really unstoppable versions of this character. And this includes when Falcon himself was turned into a Ghost Rider. This all went down during Doctor Strange Damnation issue number 1, where Doctor Strange basically made a bet against Mephisto and lost that bet, who at that time had basically taken over Las Vegas and had bigger plans in regards to world domination, or should I say damnation. When Falcon was transformed into a Ghost Rider, he also carried with him his skills and abilities as a hero, which made him a pretty tough one to face when Strange's Midnight Suns were called into action. When he was pulled over to the Ghost Rider side, it was in a moment of weakness when he and the other Avengers let their differences get in the way of them saving people, which basically resulted in them beginning to fight in the midst of trying to respond to the chaos that was happening in Las Vegas. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button. Number 9. Ghost Rider 2099. The Ghost Rider of the future is basically like the Terminator. Kenshiro Zero Cochrane was attempting a hack with his gang when they were attacked by a rival gang, who basically attempted to steal the encrypted data that they had successfully stolen, but hadn't yet cracked themselves. In the end, Zero's gang was killed and Zero himself was in the process of dying, so he decided to upload the encrypted data in his last few moments to his girlfriend before attempting to fry the implants in his own head so that the gang wouldn't get any information from him in regards to what they were looking for. When he awoke, he was in cyberspace and ended up being offered a place in the world once more as a futuristic spirit of vengeance, given a second chance by advanced AI, who saw the world to be on the verge of collapse, where corporations would in essence devour and basically destroy everything. As a basically fully cybernetic Ghost Rider, Zero has the benefit of having a body that is completely made out of weapons, with him being uploaded into, in essence, a war machine. He also has the benefit of never really being able to die, as he could always just be re-uploaded into another bot if need be. Kinda like exists in like the cyberspace. Number 8. Black Panther. Black Panther is another character who ended up being pulled over to the side of Mephisto, seemingly becoming a member of Mephisto's Ghost Rider Avengers in the series Doctor Strange Damnation for a brief time. He's also one of the characters the Midnight Suns are forced to confront. Black Panther has a lot of power all of his own, never mind as a Ghost Rider in addition to that. He's also a pretty insane force to have on your side, especially on Mephisto's side, and operating as one of his Ghost Riders, when you also consider the political power that T'Challa has as the King of Wakanda, and at the time as the leader of the Avengers. Black Panther is one of the Ghost Rider Avengers who greet the Midnight Suns when they first arrive in Las Vegas. They are not solely confronted by him and the other Avengers though, and I suppose calling them Strange's Midnight Suns earlier was a little hasty of me, although that is kind of what happens later, considering the role that Strange plays in this story. Really, it would be more accurate to call this formation of the Midnight Suns Wong's team, perhaps. Wong, one of my favorites. Number 7. Ghost Rider Trail of Tears. This alternate version of Ghost Rider has such a tragic story and is definitely one of those Ghost Riders that would simply never give up. In fact, in a way, him being so unstoppable was kind of his downfall, as this version of Ghost Rider became aware of the curse that basically comes with being the spirit of vengeance. Like, it literally is a curse when you think about it. For this point, we're focusing on a Ghost Rider who is still from the main continuity but exists in the past. Caleb. Caleb was a free man who managed to acquire freedom for his wife and for himself in and around the time of the American Civil War. I love Caleb not just because he is a super powerful Ghost Rider with some unique abilities, but also because his story feels unstoppable in the sense that, I mean, it's really great. It also comes with a moral that we honestly don't see enough in stories like Ghost Rider, with Caleb at the end basically acknowledging that he is cursed to hunt for vengeance, a quest that will never end. Well, this is, I guess I should more say, although Ghost Rider we do touch on it a little bit more, but in comics we don't touch on that as much as I think we should. And Caleb realizes that no matter how noble the cause may seem, anyone that hunts for vengeance is basically already damned. Number 6. Mighty Thor. Mighty Thor would have to be one of the most epic characters to have become a Ghost Rider in recent history. I mean, the power of Thor and Mjolnir alone are insane. Combine those with becoming a Ghost Rider and you become pretty undefeatable, I would say. We see this happen in action when Mighty Thor Jane Foster also joins Mephisto's side of the fight against the Midnight Suns in Doctor Strange Damnation. In issue number 3 of the series, Mighty Thor swings her hammer at Blade, and later we see her in one-on-one combat briefly fighting against Dr. Voodoo. Fortunately, that was all that was needed for Johnny Blaze, also fighting alongside the Midnight Suns against Mephisto as opposed to for him, to push ahead and face Mephisto himself. However, it just goes to show how hard it is to actually fight against a Ghost Rider version of Mighty Thor. And even then, Mephisto's Ghost Riders, Mighty Thor included, seem to be doing their job at that point, remaining pretty unstoppable at least as of issue 3, as Mephisto takes away Johnny's curse, freeing him and making him human again, only so he can basically threaten his now very immortal life. Number 5. Robbie Reyes. Well, not really an alternate in the traditional sense, considering that Robbie is the current main Ghost Rider in the Earth 616 continuity right now. He's not necessarily the first person most think of when it comes to the Ghost Rider mantle, considering that he's the latest one to become the main Ghost Rider in canon, but you know, isn't the person that's been Ghost Rider the longest, I'd say. Fans of the more classic Ghost Rider character likely think of Johnny Blaze, or perhaps, if they were comic fans more in the 90s, Danny Ketch. And while the first person I do think of myself is Robbie at this point, well, maybe like Johnny and then Robbie, it's pretty close between those two, this is why I decided to include him here. Also, it's hard when we talk Ghost Riders, plural, to keep it all multiversal. I mean, there's just so many powerful and amazing Ghost Rider alternate characters that exist just within the main universe. Robbie Reyes may be one of the new riders on the block, but that does not diminish his power or the fact that he often refuses to back down from a fight, even fights that seem completely unwinnable. Number 4. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel also for a time became a Ghost Rider during Doctor Strange Damnation. In fact, in issue number 4, we see her fight against Doctor Strange himself, taking him on in his own Ghost Rider form. Alas, she is also a pawn of Mephisto's, which means for our heroes in this story, she is just the wrong kind of unstoppable, one they have to battle against, and honestly, you do not want to fight an unstoppable villain, especially one that packs as much of a punch as Carol does on a good day, and who also now has the added bonus of all the Ghost Rider's powers too. Fortunately, Wong has a few tricks up his sleeve, and Carol ends up turning her Ghost Rider wrath on Mephisto in the end, thanks to some major plays Wong made in secret, which are then revealed of course. He knew Mephisto's weakness, that while he ruled on Earth, his seat in Hell would be vacant, and so he sent Johnny Blaze to his doom, knowing that Johnny, once taken off the board on the earthly plane, would then be free to take over for Mephisto in Hell as its ruler. Pretty smart thinking, Wong. Number 3. Ghost Hammer. Hailing from Warp World, which we got to explore in Infinity Warps when Gamora folded the universe in half and trapped it inside of the Soul Gem, this is a variant that really packs a punch. Speaking of people that can pack a punch. Ghost Hammer, like many from Warp World, is of course a Marvel amalgam character. And not even just that, he's actually an amalgam character of an amalgam character within the Marvel universe. Ghost Hammer is both Ghost Panther and Iron Hammer combined. Ghost Panther is a combination of the characters of both Ghost Rider and Black Panther, and Iron Hammer amalgamates Iron Man and Thor into one character. So combining the two of those characters together, we get one insanely super powerful character that is not made up of just two different characters really, but instead 4 different ones, who have been folded together once and then of course once more to give us Ghost Hammer. Ghost Hammer comes equipped with Mjolnir, which for one of Ghost Hammer's previous forms, Iron Hammer, was also used to help him access the power of his suit. Number 2. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange becomes probably one of the most powerful Ghost Riders to have ever ghost-ridden in Doctor Strange Damnation. Here he attempts to face Mephisto alone and ends up being, well, pretty beaten at first, turned into one of his Ghost Riders. Fortunately, he has bats with him. His ghost doggo ends up possessing Steven to save him from hurting Wong. In the end, after Johnny has become ruler of Mephisto's Hell Dimension, Wong even helps Steven to become something greater, giving him the souls of all the dead Avengers for a brief moment so he doesn't have to feel alone. Aww. In essence, making him an Avenger god. But even before, when he was just a soulless Ghost Rider Doctor Strange, he would have been something fierce to see. The mystic knowledge that Steven has combined with the powers of Ghost Rider, I'd say alone, are pretty unstoppable. And when you add in a soul from bats possessing Strange's body, you also still end up being unstoppable enough. Even probably while less aware of, the finer details of battle, as I don't think Bats is, like a master tactician or anything like that. Bats, though, still could go head to head with Ghost Rider Captain Marvel, which I think speaks for itself. That's still pretty impressive. Number 1. Cosmic Ghost Rider. Maybe one of the most unstoppable versions of Ghost Rider around, definitely on this list, is Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider first appeared on the scene back in the 2017 Thanos series, and right away he became a very strange but very obvious fan favorite. I personally am one of the people that love him. He is one of the most ultimate Ghost Riders because he is also like the Punisher, an anti-hero well known for his ability to bulldoze through most of his enemies despite really just being a human without any real superpowers to speak of himself. He is also of course known for his ability to never give up, and this is showcased during his time as Cosmic Ghost Rider. Even with all of those he knew and loved from Earth gone and defeated by Thanos upon his return, Frank Castle still sought vengeance. And even after that was not possible, he regrettably joined up as Thanos' herald and still kept going somehow. He died, went to Valhalla, and then returned to have some time-traveling adventures after Odin realized he wasn't really super happy there and didn't really quite fit in.
Number 10. He gives up fighting the Hulk to let him sick the Illuminati. One of the Hulk's most awesome and powerful moments came in the World War Hulk story, when the Incredible Hulk gathered up his warband on Sakaar and headed to Earth for some much desired revenge on the Illuminati. The Illuminati had tricked Hulk, banished him into space, left him stranded on a world where he was forced to become a gladiator and work his way to become king, and then the ship they sent him there on self-destructed and caused the passing of tons of people he cared about. So yes, the Illuminati deserved what was coming to them, but they still tried to put up a fight. When Hulk arrived on Earth more mad than he has ever been, there were only 2 people who ever had a chance of bringing him down. The first was the incredibly powerful Sentry, and the second was Ghost Rider. When Ghost Rider showed up and started fighting, the Hulk decided to try and squash him like a bug, quote unquote. Only problem was, now that he had knocked out Johnny Blaze, Zarathos was allowed to take a bit more control, and he attacked back with so much hellfire the two got to an almost stalemate. The not so bad thing that we're talking about though is when Zarathos, who only punishes the guilty, sees that Hulk is truly innocent in this situation, so he betrays the Illuminati and basically allows the Hulk to go ahead with his destruction. Honestly, kind of awesome. I wasn't even upset. Let's find some better examples. But before I do that, do you like anime as well as comics? Well, luckily for you, now we have a full channel completely dedicated to nerdy videos about specifically anime and manga. Go check out Amazing Top 10 Anime. Let's just move on. Number 9. Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. Yet again, I can't really say I blame Johnny Blaze all too much for this one, but still. When Danny Ketch became a new Ghost Rider after Johnny had imprisoned Zarathos in an amulet, Johnny was more than a little suspicious. Johnny Blaze traveled from the west coast to confront this new Ghost Rider, thinking that Zarathos had returned somehow. Blaze hunted down Danny Ketch Ghost Rider and tried to take his life multiple times while Ghost Rider kept attempting to escape Blaze and bring the villain Blackout, who was dispatching multiple people, to justice. Johnny kept this up until he finally watched Ghost Rider save a child in Central Park. This finally made him become less suspicious of Ghost Rider, and he stopped trying to take him out repeatedly. He instead decided to observe Daniel to make sure that he wasn't Zarathos, and he taught Daniel how to fight and protect himself when he wasn't transformed into Ghost Rider. So ultimately he made up for it, but still a little impulsive with the old de-lifing there, Johnny. I want to tone that down. Number 8. Alejandra Jones, Hellfire Exploded a Country. Alright, buckle up because this one involves Adam. Not me, like the biblical Adam. In Marvel Comics, Adam has devoted himself to one day eradicating sin from mankind, at any cost, even human souls. To that end, Adam took in orphan children and trained them within a Nicaraguan temple to make them perfect as hosts of the Ghost Rider. Now, with the Fear Itself event and the arrival of of the Serpent, Adam decided this was a sign to make his move and offered to free Johnny Blaze from the Ghost Rider. Adam awakened the Seeker and had him pick the new Ghost Rider among those students that he was training. Alejandra Jones was the one chosen and was immediately sent to battle Scotty, who was one of the Serpent's avatars. Now when she came back, Adam demanded that she destroy the sin in the other orphans, which would leave them as husks. She obviously refused, but in return, Adam enslaved her. Now Johnny Blaze, realizing he made a boo-boo, journeyed to Nicaragua to stop them, but Adam turned Alejandra's power into a bomb that went off, taking away the sin from the Nicaraguans, turning them into mindless emotional shells of the individuals they once were. The only ones unaffected by this blast were Johnny and the Seeker. Basically, Alejandra was used to destroy the whole country of Nicaragua. Number 7. Beat Up Angel. So back in the Avengers Volume 1, issue number 214, Johnny Blaze and the Avengers come into conflict. Johnny was hanging out on some rocks in New Mexico, brooding and hating on the world for everyone who abandons him, when all of a sudden, Warren Worthington III comes zooming down the road in a Ferrari with a girl in the passenger seat. Johnny seems to get really jealous and decides to scare the hell out of the couple, causing Warren to crash the car. Johnny then challenges Warren to a race. Now to be fair, Warren gets a good punch in on Johnny, but that just makes the Ghost Rider use his Hellfire to burn Warren's soul and put him into a coma. Kind of really overdoing it there, Ghosty. Thor, Tigra, Iron Man, and Captain America head to the area of the incident to take on the Ghost Rider, only for him to give them much more of a fight than they probably expected. Number 6. Killing Starseed. There was a time in the 70s when Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider joined up with the team known as the Legion of Monsters. While not entirely bad, some of the characters here were monsters, and they did indeed give in to their monster tendencies. One such moment would come in Marvel Premiere number 28 in 1975, when a seemingly peaceful alien from a highly advanced race came and plopped a mountain down in California. It caused a bunch of earthquakes, which attracted the Monster Legion, and thanks to Morbius and Werewolf by Night, who gave in to their hunger, they attacked the alien. Now admittedly, the Ghost Rider tried to intervene, but they still, as a group, caused the passing of Starseed, and he even helped them to get back their non-monstrous forms, so it was kind of rude. Number 5. Robbie and Ellie. So this one's a little murky. Robbie Reyes is the current Ghost Rider, and he's great. He's super interesting. His car is hella cool. I just find him to be a smidge bit more evil than his other counterparts, and that's because when Robbie Reyes becomes Ghost Rider, he is not a spirit of vengeance. Robbie is instead possessed by a ghost of a guy named Eli. Now it is revealed in all new Ghost Rider number 8 in 2014 that Eli was not a spirit of vengeance like Johnny Blaze's Zarathos, but instead Eli is Robbie's uncle and a satanic serial de-lifer who took the lives of and dismembered at least 37 people in rituals before he was finally taken out by the police in 1999. And he lived in the house that the Reyes brothers, Gabe and Robbie, took to living in. So while Robbie himself isn't necessarily a bad dude, not entirely, the alter ego he now lives with is indeed quite evil, and they constantly have to do mental battle for Robbie to stay in control and not completely give in to Eli's bloodlust. That's a no for me. I don't know. Number 4. Power Obsessed. Ghost Rider Danny Ketch was an interesting one for sure. His spirit of vengeance happened to actually be an ancestor of both him and Johnny Blaze named Noble Kale, who became a spirit of vengeance. In Danny Ketch Ghost Rider number 2, Danny gets the spirit exorcised from him, but instead of doing him good, he went a little bonkers, craving the spirit's power like some kind of addiction. He tried to set himself on fire in Times Square to get the power back. That's how crazy he went. He ended up hanging out in bars, fighting other people just for fun. Yeah, sounds like a blast. But in a turn of events, he was fed doses of the Ghost Rider power, feeding his addiction. Then he began hunting down the other Ghost Riders and Verminous Rex, taking him down and absorbing a whole bunch of Ghost Rider souls and quote-unquote overdosing on the power. The Archangel Zadkiel intervened and saved him, but made Danny one of his knights, hunting down other spirits of vengeance, which led him after Johnny Blaze and saw Danny convince a young man, Lucas Collier, to end his own life. So yeah, he's kind of absolutely horrible. Number 3. Throwing his brother off a bridge. Speaking of Danny Ketch, he is actually the brother of Johnny Blaze. In the beginning of Ghost Rider Volume 9, Johnny Blaze was the king of hell, something that happened in Damnation after Johnny Johnny's soul was sent to Hell and he convinced Zarathos to help him in a journey to usurp Mephisto's throne. Either way, Johnny Blaze began capturing demons roaming the earth. He tried to recruit the help of his brother, Danny, but Ketch refused and tried to convince Johnny that his position as the King of Hell was corrupting his soul. Blaze didn't seem to like that too much, and so he very unceremoniously stripped Ketch of his spirit of vengeance and threw him off the Manhattan Bridge. Nothing like stealing your brother's power and throwing him off a bridge, am I right? Luckily though for Danny, he got saved from drowning by caretaker Sarah. But this is like the 4th time Johnny has just gone way overboard, or over bridge. I'm just gonna stop. Number 2. Johnny hires Cosmic Ghost Rider. In an alternate future when Thanos was attacking the Earth and going on his mad conquest, Frank Castle was killed and sent to Hell. While down there, he made a deal with Mephisto to gain the Spirit of Vengeance and defeat Thanos. The only problem is, when he came back, he was too late and Thanos had taken the lives of everyone on Earth. So he roamed the Earth totally alone and it drove him insane. Castle made a deal with Galactus to gain the power Cosmic in exchange for the Earth. So now, it's Frank Castle with the Spirit of Vengeance and the power Cosmic. Yes, it is as cool as it sounds, but him going bonkers has made things much more interesting. Unfortunately, he actually goes on to sort of join Thanos in his quest. A lot of stuff happens with the baby and adult Thanos, but basically, in Earth 616, Johnny Blaze is the King of Hell, forces this Cosmic Ghost Rider to attack the Avengers in Avengers Volume 8, number 24, and forces Robbie Reyes into a race for Robbie's power, threatening the life of Robbie's brother Gabe. So yeah, this is Johnny being a jerk again, hiring an insanely powerful Cosmic Ghost Rider to de-life the Avengers. Luckily it doesn't turn out that way. And in at number 1 is Cosmic Ghost Rider. But the question is, why would Johnny Blaze make Cosmic Ghost Rider go after the Avengers? And what's so wrong with that? Well, you see, Cosmic Ghost Rider in his quest against Thanos actually joined up with Thanos, like I said before. And then he went back in time to try and raise a baby Thanos to be a better Mad Titan, as in, like, less death obsessed. This brought him into direct conflict with an alternate Guardians of the Galaxy led by Cable. Now when the fight finally starts, Cosmic Ghost Rider is trying to shield baby Thanos from the violence, so he hands the baby over to Uatu the Watcher and starts going to town on these Guardians. The only problem is Cable keeps using his time traveling abilities to bring back more and more heroes to take on this Cosmic Ghost Rider. By my counting, the insane Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider took the lives of about 41 different time-displaced superpowered beings. And when he was finally overwhelmed, he had failed completely because he was saved by the baby Thanos who took out the remaining heroes. And then a Punisher-dressed Thanos from the future shows up calling Frank dad. I don't know, it's insane. Just go read it.